continue. Good afternoon, please. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this class, Introduction to Coding. So, apologies for starting. Okay, it's just 4 o'clock now, right? So we are supposed to start by 4:05 on the dot. So, thank you for coming. We just need to be a little bit more patient for like 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll start properly. My name is Iyanu Patoba, and then I'll be your host for today on behalf of Xylem Technologies. So, yep, we already know why we are here, but I'll give a very comprehensive breakdown after, once we start properly. So let's just wait for 3 minutes for others to join. Once they do, I'll give us a brief background, just go straight to the point, and Mr. Gwinga will take the floor. Thank you again for joining. See you in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. I can see that more people are joining us. Welcome to our virtual coding bootcamp, tagged Coding 101. Thanks for joining. Briefly, very soon, I'm going to give us a breakdown and a brief overview of the course and what to expect in this introductory class, and also in our advanced coding course coming up in March 1st, 2021. So thanks for joining. Please, I would like everybody to mute their mics. I can do it from here, but I think everybody should be able to mute their mics so we don't.
Come now.
Oh, hello, everyone. Okay, yes, I can see that more people more people have joined the class. So you're welcome to our virtual bootcamp, tag coding 101. We're happy to have you here. We're happy to, have you as part of our students for this particular session. So I'm going to, in the next 1 minute, I'm going to come on fully to give us the background, what to expect from this course, and how it is very, very important to our advanced coding course coming up in March. That's March 1st, 2021. So thanks for joining again. So in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to be back here to give us full details. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is to officially welcome you to our virtual bootcamp introduction to coding. My name is Yanu Fatova, and I'll be your host for today. Yeah. Like I said, welcome to this class. And as we all know, when you signed up for the course, I want to believe that you read the brief and a summary about it and what it is about. But for the benefit of the doubt, and then for the purpose of this particular class and today's introductory class, I would like to just go over a few things again so that we can all be clear on the purpose, the objectives, and the aims of this particular virtual class. So there's an advanced coding course coming up in March 1st, 2021. And it's an advanced class, and it's also a professional certification class. So it's more like we are going to award you a diploma in programming, in coding. And it's not just an award, it's a 6-month intensive training, a 6-month intensive learning period with very detailed curriculum on how to go about web development, web application, database management, everything that comes into the beginning and the ending of coding. And then not even just learning theoretically, but also being able to apply this knowledge to real life operational challenges, being able to use to solve tacky problems, being able to write codes to solve tacky problems, to build very innovative and secured sites and applications. So all of these it's just even like a tip of what that course is going to be about. So, but let me not dwell too much on that because there's more time for that after the course. What I really want to talk about right now is this introductory class, and then we are conducting this as a basis and as the most basic level of getting introduced into the world of coding, because of course, I know we're aware that it's not just local tech market, but the global tech market is getting really, really short of tech people who are tech oriented and then who can really derive solutions through programming and coding. And there's just that gap between demand and supply. And there are a lot of issues with that. So sometimes people do not get the right orientation to even understand that there's this gap that can be filled. And the people that even have the right orientation do not know where to go to or how to even begin. We have a lot of mysterious myths about coding. Some would say that you have to be a maths whiz, others would say that you have to be a computer engineer or study computer science from university and all of those other myths and stuff. And then we are here to actually demystify those myths, that what you need to be a successful programmer is not to be good at maths or to be very, very know how to tap figures together. And so not to say that if you're good at it that you don't stand a chance, no. But we're saying that anybody from anywhere, from any background can learn coding. Anybody can learn programming. Anybody can do well, can succeed with programming. Anybody can compete in the global tech market. with program. Anybody can, you can stand. We have from Zania now, we have people that we've trained that are competing on a global level, not just in Nigeria. Our instructor, our CTO, that's Mr. Gbenga. He has worked across 9 industries already, both in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. You understand? So it's really numerous opportunities waiting for you out there. You just have to know how to leverage, know how to harness, and know how to access these opportunities. And that is the gap Zionel Academy is looking to bridge, not just in terms of the training, but also in terms of affordability, flexibility, and ensuring that you actually understand and then you are able to be infused in, in this course, in this training. And then we also feel that, that might be impossible if you don't even know the basics of coding, if you don't know where to start from, if you don't know, the simplest form of coding. So this is not even just about us, teaching you introduction to coding and all. It's also about you asking us questions, those questions that you've had on your mind for, for a very long time, and then you've never even been able to really start coding because there are just a lot of things a lot of questions here that you need to answer, that you need to, and then there's also some people here that are really stuck. You don't know if you need to go into front end or go into back end or just stick with mobile applications or web applications. You're just really confused and you don't know where to start, start from. Yeah, so that is we are going to be answering some of those questions during these introductory classes today and tomorrow. And yeah, and lastly, I'd also like to add that, like I said, you don't need to be a math whiz, you don't need to be a rich kid and all. I'm going to talk to us about affordability later. So, but for you to even be able to, or to be willing to do the advanced course, you have to be heavily infused and then understand what it is that you're getting yourself into. And like I said, you don't need to be a math whiz, all you need is, commitment, resilience, and then your dog get inside. Okay, you have to get this done. You have to be good at this. You have to learn this, and then you have to be able to apply this to real problems in the real world. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very exciting class. And I'm pleased to actually introduce you to Benga Shodunke. He's our CTO. Okay, I am Ian Potoba, I'm the brand communications manager, and then Mr. Gbenga is the CTO at so he's the lead instructor. So we have a faculty, at least for the advanced course. But for the purpose of this introductory class, our CTO will be leading this class. And then, like I said, somebody has worked on so many projects, personal projects, and if across, several industries and across several sectors. So it's not even just for tech. He has not just only worked in the tech sector. He has worked in FMCG, worked for banking, in the banking sector, and a few other industries like that. So if you are looking for somebody who knows their stuff, who knows their onion, it is Benga Shodunke. I can tell you that. I've worked with him for over a year now, and then I can tell you that not many are as brilliant as he is, and you're going to absolutely have fun learning from him. So just sit back and we'll just get right to it, so we won't waste our time. Sorry, it's because today is the first day. By tomorrow, we won't have to do all this introduction and familiarity and stuff. We'll just go straight to the point. Yeah, once again, I'm happy to have you here, and then I'm glad you're here. If you need to ask any question at all, kindly mute your mic, then you can just send me a chat personally, or you can just drop to everyone. I'll pick it there, and then I'll direct it to our CTO. Like I said, also, I'm going to be giving us more information about our advanced class coming up in March. But for now, let's just deal with introduction to coding and demystify some of the myths that you've heard, and then also get you familiar with programming languages, applications, things you're going to be learning, which one is the best programming language, Java, Python, all of those things. Yeah, right. It's going to delve into all of those. So, Mr. Gbenga, are you there?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Iano.
So you have the floor now.
Thank you so much, Iano. And I would like to welcome everyone. I can see so many people in the room right now. Attending this training, though we are still expecting so many people, but we've all been patient enough, to wait for them. I want to believe they will join us on the way. So thank you so much, Iano, for that, robust introduction. And I don't really think I'm going to spend much time introducing what the course is all about or what the program is all about to us anymore. She has actually exhausted everything. And I think we have enough background to begin this training, okay? I would just like to get a feedback from everyone, just to be sure you're hearing me and that I can hear you as well. So could we just briefly, just within 10 seconds, unmute our mics and, let's just respond. Hi, hello everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I can.
I can hear us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, hello everyone. This is Joshua Adam Chima from Igbeda, Lagos.
Okay, thank you for that explicit greeting. We welcome you, and I welcome everyone else. So I want to believe everybody here is actually hearing me, and I want to assure you that we're in for a great time. So I'm not going to be wasting any more time. I'll just dive straight into the course, Coding 101. Then I want to believe we can all see the screen. I'm sharing the slide that I'll be taking the class from. Can we all see the slide? If I can get a response from maybe 3 to 4 people, then we should be fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So, coding 101 introduction, to coding. Now before I begin, let me introduce myself. By myself, though Yano has tried to introduce me, and well, I would like to do it, by myself. My name is Benga Shodonke, as she has rightly said, and but you can also call me G Banks. G Banks is more straightforward. G Banks, and I'm a software developer and a software trainer, and the CTO of Zionel Technologies. I'm a faculty on Zionel Academy. So let me just quickly introduce Zionel Academy to us. Zionel Academy, is a training arm of Zionel Technologies. So Zionel Technologies is actually a software, solutions company, software development company. We actually develop software solutions, for organizations to help them automate their processes. Okay. So, and we've worked across several industries, the financial industry, which is called fintech, the HR industry, the agricultural industry, geological industry, and several other industries. Okay, so we decided. Hello, there's someone's background noise. There's someone background disturbing the class. Could you all mute, please, so that the class won't be interrupted? Thank you. Okay, so let me just go on. So the training arm was, created recently, to actually respond to the, to the great scarcity, which has befallen the software industry. Okay. And I'm going to be starting from there. The software industry right now all over the world is facing a serious dilemma of scarcity of talent. Okay, so software developers are actually technically called talent, across the world. So, because of that, there is so much work to be done in the software industry. There's a very surge, there's a surge in demand, okay, of software products and software solutions all over the world. And recently, the pandemic has also contributed enormously to the surge in demand as a result of the increase in demand for software solutions. As we all know, most organizations now do everything online. Now we hear of remote work, we hear of, which means people working from home rather than going to, to their various offices. And the only way to make that work and what makes that possible, is actually the development of certain softwares, okay, like Zoom that we are using now. Zoom has been around for a long while. However, it was never this popular. Okay, only few organizations, across, few industries have actually been using Zoom, okay, for communication, for meetings, okay. But the pandemic has, now forced everyone, every industry to, start using Zoom, tools like Zoom, Google Meet, and other Microsoft Teams, to communicate while workers stay at home to work, okay? So, and it's not only in the area of communication softwares that there's been high demand, even across productivity, software, project management. Now, because of the fact that workers have to stay back at home, to work, okay, now there arose another challenge of tracking the productivity of workers. How would they know workers are actually at home working and not sleeping? It's actually going to be difficult to track that, where workers are far apart. So one of the innovations that has also come up, is that's the development of project management or project tracking softwares, okay? And like I said earlier, just like, Zoom, we've always had project management softwares or project monitoring or task monitoring softwares. We've always had them. However, they've not been so popular because, like I said, only few industries have had the need to use them. And one of such industries, is the IT industry. So things like work from home, remote working is actually not new, okay, to the software industry, because software developers have always worked remotely because productivity in the software industry can actually easily be monitored because of all these monitoring softwares that have been available. Okay, so the pandemic has only forced other industries to adopt, all these different solutions that have actually been in use in the software industry. So the software industry is actually a leader, in all these, in the usage and adoption of all these technologies. Okay, so, and you'll be very right to say that we are actually in the advent of, the software industry leading, the pack of the other industries. So, and that's one of the reasons why the demand in software products, has really gone very up recently. Okay, so this demand in software products has also placed so much burden on the number of software developers needed to produce these software solutions, which other industries are now looking forward to, to adopt, to make life easy for them. So as a result of this, there is now so much demand of software developers over supply, okay? And this shortage necessarily, a basic principle of economics, when supply exceeds, when demand exceeds supply, price, goes up. And price in this case is the income of software developers, okay? So because so many companies are chasing very few software developers, so the income of developers has gone up very high, okay? So I'm going to be going into what you stand to benefit or what you stand to gain, okay, as a software developer shortly, okay? But before I go there, I was just trying to tell you the reason why we had to set up Zional Academy, okay? And the reason is actually to solve this challenge for us as a software company, okay? So we figured out that since there's a serious shortage of software developers out there, and we started experiencing software companies actually fighting, against each other. There's something called poaching. Poaching means a company going to, woo the software developers or the workers of other companies with huge sum of money. Why? Because they've searched and searched to hire software developers, but they couldn't find any. So the few that are available, that some companies have managed to gather, some other companies go there and woo them with a large sum of money and, and bring them to themselves. Okay, so I won't mention names. I experienced firsthand these things happening in the industry, and In some of our forums where we communicate on Twitter and even in other meetups where we meet, I mean, where people, stakeholders in the software industry meet, I've always advocated, for every software company creating their own training arm, as the only viable solution to this problem. That poaching is not actually going to solve any problem. I mean, you going to woo workers of other companies, because what happened is that when you woo the workers of other companies, another company will come and woo your own workers too. And ultimately, now we have companies from the US and from other countries, from Europe, Germany, now looking into Africa and coming to woo those guys away from, from out of the country, So I've always been an advocate of, solving this problem pragmatically, by advocating for every software company creating a training arm in order to increase the supply. Because according to basic economic principles, the problem of scarcity is simply to increase supply. So if every company starts training and start training people, within a short while, there will be so much supply, of software developers, and there will not be any need for poaching anymore, and the problem will be solved. Okay, so rather than just advocating for that, we decided to, take a first step to lead in that direction by setting up a training arm, which we call Zionel Academy. Okay, so which is also, the arm that is organizing this training and so many other training that, we are going to be coming up with. Okay, so we are glad to have you here at Zionel Academy, and we just want to tell you that this is your first step. Okay, this is your first step to actually picking a career in the software industry. I know that so many people here, for different reasons, I will read through the forms that everyone had to fill, to register for this training, and I was very impressed by the purpose, everyone stated, for attending this training, and I want to say that we all have very good reasons, and one of the focus of this training is actually to show you the way, okay, is to deliver to you the keys to actually finding your way and navigating through the complex web, of the software development industry. Okay, it's actually not difficult. It doesn't have to be very difficult. It's difficult only if you don't have someone to guide you. Okay, so I want to welcome you once again, and I hope you have a great time. Okay, so I'm also the founder of Trutera, and you can reach me on Twitter at gbanks. Okay, I usually answer questions a lot on Twitter, and I put up a lot of posts on Twitter. I'm an educative post about the software industry, so you can follow me, at any time, and you'll be updated with, happenings in the software industry, both in Nigeria and all over the world. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide now for us to look at the agenda of this class. Coding 101, the agenda is actually, we're going to be taking everything here, in 2 days, okay? It's a bit lengthy, but I believe we're going to be able to scale through. So we're going to be looking at why learn coding, okay? So many of you already have your own reasons for learning coding, okay? And we're going to be looking at other more reasons that you could, other more reasons why you should learn coding. Then we're also going to be looking at the keys to learning coding, okay? Then introduction to computing. So before I go on, many of you, when you hear coding or when you hear software development, you have different things in your mind. You already start seeing, gibberish. Maybe some of you have peeped into someone who is a software developer. I mean, you've peeped into such a person's laptop before, and you've seen different kinds of, syntax and, gibberish, and that alone has put fear in you that, wow, this is so complex. How can I learn this? It's not easy to learn coding. I want you to know that there's nothing difficult to learn if you put your heart to it. And then also, the purpose of this class is not actually to start learning all those syntax and all those gibberish you've seen. The purpose of this class is actually to prepare you, to give you a general, a very vast information about the software industry. Then we're also going to be, starting from the basics, from what is a computer. Okay, we'll build it up from, seeing the categories of the computer, types of software. Then we'll build it up till we get, to the very, very heights. So by the time we're done with this bootcamp training, you'll be so vast that by the time you start talking to people outside, maybe people who are very conversant, who are in the software industry, they will actually think you know a lot. I mean, they will actually think you're a programmer already, and that's one thing about the software industry. We have the lingua, okay? We have people who know a lot about the lingua, but who don't know so much about the application. That's the practical application of the lingua, okay? However, the lingua is knowing and understanding the lingua and the terminologies, okay, is very, 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 very important. It's very, 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 very important, okay? So, I mean, I've seen some people who got jobs just by, understanding the terminologies of the software industry. I mean, they know about servers, they know about front end, back end, they know about the front end languages, back end languages, and they actually don't know the art of coding itself, okay? But during interviews, they actually scaled through because they were able to convince the HR people, okay? However, within a short time, they were soon found out, not to actually know anything, and they were sent out of, the companies, I just said that to let you know, how powerful understanding the lingua and the terminologies, how it is. I mean, it can get you a job, but, you're not guaranteed that it will sustain you on the job. So, yes, the purpose of this training is to explain all the terminologies, okay, to you. You'll be so vast, you'll be so knowledgeable about the software industry, about the programming industry, so much that, you can discuss and communicate with anybody at any time. Then you'll be able to actually decide, you'll know all the parts. There are different parts and channels to actually take, okay, in the IT industry, okay, but one of the things that makes it confusing is that there are so many paths to take, and there's so many information online, there's so many information on the internet free of charge, okay, that you can pick up and start reading, to get yourself acquainted with, some of these things. But the problem with that is that you don't actually know which path to take. When you have like 1,000 paths, okay, but to actually know the right path, that's always the challenge. So the purpose of this training is actually to show you some of the most important parts and to give you a sense of direction of the path you can take, okay? So by the time you are done, you know what you are doing, you know which field or which aspect of the coding or the, of the software industry you can specialize in, which programming language to learn first, where to begin from and where you are going, you understand? So that's what you'll be able to do. But we're not going to actually be teaching you the syntaxes, the coding, The coding is important, but the terminology first. Once you understand the terminology, then you'll be prepared to now learn the coding, okay? So we're going to be seeing the types of softwares, then also we're going to be looking at the overview of application software, importance of application softwares, importance of web applications, then introduction to computer networking, okay? Demystifying the internet and how it works. So a lot of us actually use the internet every day. I mean, there are billions of people on the internet, using the internet daily. Well, most people don't even know how the internet works or what the internet is. By the time we are done with this training, you will understand everything about the internet such that by the time you get back to start, communicating with friends, families, and doing things on the internet, you will actually understand what is happening behind the scene. So you will no longer be a front-end user, who is ignorant of what is actually happening behind the scene. This class will let you know the engine that runs the internet and how it works, how communication takes place on the internet, So, and that is also very important to understanding how software works, okay? So the next, we'll be looking at web servers overview, then introduction to web apps and languages you need to learn to develop a web app. Then next, you'll be learning introduction to HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then finally, we'll look at the tools you need to start developing web applications. Okay, so just to show a bit of statistics. I don't know if we can see the slide properly. I mean, this slide is just to buttress what I said earlier, that because of the scarcity in the software industry, the income of software developers has actually gone very, very high all over the world. Okay, and this statistic shows, I mean, from ncube.com, that the average annual salary of software developers is actually $99,500 yearly. Okay, and the projected worldwide population of professional developers by 2024 is 28.7 million. Okay, that's out of the billion of the population of the world, 28.7 million. And currently in the United States, there is a shortage of 1.4 million software development jobs in the US alone. Now, I'm saying in the US alone because the US is actually one of the standards, okay, because of its population. It's a very vast population, and of course, it's seen as one of the most advanced. It's the most advanced country in the world. And the reason why we're focused on US is because a lot of US companies from the US are in Africa right now as we speak. And when we talk about Africa, in terms of IT and in terms of businesses, investment, Nigeria is actually usually the focus. Nigeria, Kenya, in terms of IT now, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia. Then recently, Rwanda is also coming up as one of the companies to watch out for in Africa. Okay, South Africa too, a bit, but mainly Nigeria. And you might be thinking, are you sure this statistic is correct? With all the kidnapping going on in Nigeria and with all the economic policy instability, why Africa? The simple answer to that is because of our youthful and our vibrant tech inclined youth population. Okay, Nigerian demography is one of the most unique in the whole world. I mean, over 50 or 60, if I'm not wrong, percent of the population in Nigeria are youth. Okay, and of course, you all agree with me that Nigerian youth are very smart and intelligent. I mean, wherever they go, they dominate. Okay, so and Nigerians actually find it very, very easy to learn new things. They find it very easy to pick up things. Things that are very alien to them, things they've never done before. Once a Nigerian steps in, they quickly resolve it and, they get to the top of that particular thing, okay? So Nigerians have been recognized to have these traits. So because of that, there's a lot of mass, emigration of youth from Nigeria outside Africa to the US, Germany, Canada, So if you're a software developer right now, there's a lot of programs, a lot of companies do, that people apply, fill forms, before they can be qualified to get a permanent residency, But as a software developer, most of those things are actually skipped. Why? Because of, the demand. Companies in Canada can't survive without, youth, who are tech inclined. So automatically, software developers are given a lot of waivers. UK especially, they're given a lot of waivers, when it has to do with application for permanent residency and all that, okay? So one of the things you are doing for yourself, one of the good things you are doing for yourself by starting or taking this step into, the career and software development is that it's going to be very easy for you to move around wherever you want to go. You are just hot cake, you are in high demand, okay? So you just have to prepare and be diligent and be serious about, this course you're about to take, because it has the possibility to land you anywhere, good in the future. Okay, so I hope I've been able to, convince you, that you've actually taken the correct step, to venture into this career in software development. Okay. So, sorry. Hold on, please. So, Then before I move to the next slide, before we look at, why you should learn coding, although I've already started from the previous slide, another thing, just to buttress what I've said before, despite the fact that a lot of companies, are coming to Africa to employ software developers, even in Nigeria, we still have quite a lot of companies, software companies, that are very much in need of software developers. So this is for those who are even not interested in traveling, even though I doubt many people are not interested in that right now. But for those, in case you're not even interested in traveling out, or relocating in Nigeria, I receive calls almost every day from colleagues in the industry, from a lot of organizations, or we need software developers. Do you have anyone, calls go on round and round, and of course the answer is always no, because they're in short demand. So the demand is just everywhere. It's just everywhere. So then these are some of the points I also brought up to see if to add to your own purpose of wanting to start a career in coding. Of course, like I said, coding is very, very lucrative. There's high demands for software engineers worldwide. The future of work is dependent on skilled developers. Coding can lead to software development jobs. It opens up other job opportunities. Coding can make your job application stand out. Coding literacy can help you understand other aspects of tech, yes. Then it could lead to a freelance work. Coding can allow you to pursue passion projects. Most of these points are self-explanatory, okay? And I don't want to waste time, trying to buttress them further. So coding can also boost your problem solving and logic skills. Then coding improves interpersonal skills. Then lastly, I like this last point, anyone can do it. Anyone can learn coding. Now, before I go on, I would like to just get a feedback from everyone, just to be sure you're all following me and I'm not just talking to myself. Okay, so could you just unmute briefly and let me know if you're following and if you've been following my point so far.
I'm following.
You've been following, right?
I'm following.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay. So I would like to get feedback at this point. Are there any questions? I know you guys are all, you can't wait to get to dive into it. We've already started, but I'd like to get some feedback from you. I can see, someone in the UK is a professor, my friend, my great friend.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I think some of the fears I have about coding, because I really think it's only computer gurus and those that are just wizards in these things.
Okay.
I think I'm following, and I'm having that confidence of getting through with you.
Okay.
To know more.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the feedback. Any other feedback from any other person? Should I call names? In my classes, I call names. Just feedback from any other person, just to be sure you're all following me.
Hello.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
I'm following. I think the class is very interesting. I'm Thompson Madam.
Okay.
I'm an economist, and I think I think it's quite explanatory.
Okay.
I need coding for some software like Stata, EVO, R, and MATLAB.
Okay.
So I think I find it very interesting and persuading.
Okay.
Before, I've always thought that it's something that is meant for, like the prof said. But I think I'm following. I'm enjoying the lecture.
Okay. Thank you very much for this feedback. Thank you so much for the feedback. So I think I can go ahead. I stopped at the last point. Anyone can do it. I'm going to actually buttress this point because it's one of the most interesting points to me, personally, because now when I say anyone can do it, I'm not just saying it as a hype. It's something we've done. it's Zional Academy actually started less than 2 years ago. And one of the things we set out to experiment with is the fact that to see how we can bring people from different backgrounds to learn coding. So it was kind of an experiment for us, and we began. And 2 years down the line, we've actually been able to prove that fact that anyone can learn coding. Okay, so at our academy and even at Designer Academy, we have different kind of people from different backgrounds. Okay, people from different, industries, educational backgrounds. Okay, we have chemical engineers, we even have art students. Okay, we have people who studied history and international relations, who are very good, coders right now. Okay, so we've seen it work. It was an experiment we, carried out, and we've gotten the result. And now we can boldly say anyone can do it. And in fact, let me shock you. You don't even have to be a university graduate to learn coding. At Zana right now, we have interns working with us who have not even gained admission. Okay, about 2 of them last week wrote postjam at Unilag, and they are already software engineers. I can tell you that they're already front end. One of them is a front end engineer. The other one is a UI UX designer. Then we have another student who, though she just joined, she's also, she just gained admission into Unilag to read law. Okay, so we have people from different backgrounds, and so one of the myths we've been able to debunk is that anyone can learn coding. Okay, whether you are an SSC holder or a BSc holder, or you are in arts, sciences, and commercial, you can learn coding. Okay, so we've been able to see how to do it. It's a secret formula we have, to be able to impart, the knowledge and to be able to guide people to learning it. So most of the things you're going to be learning, here we're going to be dropping some of the keys to you, okay, to demystify, some of those myths. Okay, so just sit back, relax, and let's enjoy this course together. And so I'm going to be asking a question, although some of you might have a different answer now since you had the first, the introductory part of this course, but I'll still go ahead and ask it nonetheless. And the question is coding difficult to learn? So from now on, it's going to be interactive. I'm going to be, expecting 1 or 2, max of 3 people to respond, to my question so that it can be more lively. And also for, it's a kind of experiment too. I've gotten different answers to these questions in all the classes I've taken. Okay. So let's go ahead. Who wants to answer this? I would like someone who has not answered me before or who has not spoken before to answer this question. Is coding difficult? Now, this is a subjective, I need a subjective answer here. It's in your own view. To you, is coding difficult to learn? Or do you think coding is difficult to learn? Yeah, hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anne.
Okay, Anne. Good evening.
Okay, well, there's this general saying that, well, where there is a will, that there is a way. And with the introduction you've given and the pep talk, and I don't know, you've just bettered that willingness. Coding is the last thing that would run through my mind on a normal day. But I saw the post yesterday and I just randomly filled that form reluctantly even. There is no harm in trying. But then having listened to you so far, though we've not actually delved into the business of today, I think I'm excited about what I'm going to gain from this, and I look forward to making the most of it. So yeah, I think it just better that willingness and openness, and where there is a will, it's not difficult. If I should end with that. Yeah, so thanks.
Okay, so in one word, you no longer think coding is difficult? Before now,
no, I no longer think coding is difficult.
So. Okay, wow, I think I've spotted the show. I hope I'm able to get what I want to get. Okay, anybody else wants to answer this question? I'm waiting. I need like 2 to 3 people to answer this question. Okay, anybody from, even if you have answered before, I mean, if you still want to answer this, please go ahead.
Hello, I think the coding is okay. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I tried learning it during the pandemic last year. I was not able to learn because of my computer. Laptop was Windows 10 and it was not able to work very well with the internet. So I think if there's a way we can learn it, I'm interested in it. It is possible we can learn it. And I'm very good in learning, so I like to learn the coding. So I'm very happy that you mentioned some discipline that are not in the coding and they are trying to, they know how to do it. So it's very good. I'm happy with that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I'm glad, I mean, at this early stage, I've been able to dispel every fear you have in you concerning coding. And I mean, the most important myth about coding is that it's only meant for science students, and it's only meant for computer science students, you know. And do you know what I found out? You know, computer science students that I've met, I mean, for a very long time. I've been into coding for a very, very, very long time, since 2004. Actually, I started writing, you know, codes, okay? And that was even before I got into the university. And getting to the university, I related a lot, you know, with computer science students. You know, I was actually a member of this NACOS, that's National Association of Nigerian, I mean, computer science students. And I was the only non-computer science member of that department, I mean, with ID card and everything. So I was always in their midst, learned, interacted with them because I was already a programmer. And one thing I learned interacting with them, both during my course of study in university and after, is that most university and most computer science graduates, students or graduates, actually don't get to become, you know, software developers. They don't get to become coders. You know why? You know, but I like to find out things a lot. I checked carefully, and I was wondering, why is it that most computer science students are, you know, I mean, very few, not all, you know, I mean, most of them, about maybe, let me say 85 to 90%, don't actually get to become software developers, even though they study computer science, you know. And one of the reasons one of the things I was able to discover is, number one, you know, there's this, you know, false assumption they all carry that because I study computer science, you know, then automatically by the time I graduate, I'll be able to work in the software industry. I'll be able to use my certificate to work. So that certificate mentality, you know, actually was one of the things that affected them. Okay, so, and unfortunately, the system actually did very bad to them, you know, just like the educational system did bad to most of us in Nigeria. Okay, you know, they thought everything they were being taught in university were going to be applicable by the time they graduated. You know, but unfortunately, when they graduated, they found out that the real life was a total departure, you know, from what they were taught at school. And you know, I'm sorry to say they actually graduated, you know, as illiterate. I'm sorry to say, in their field, though they were very literate in so many other things. You know, so many things they were taught, you know, that were not actually applicable, that were obsolete, that were not needed in the real life industry. So in the real life industry, they became illiterate, and they were literate of things that were not necessary. Okay, so, and because they have spent close to 4 to 5 years in the university learning computer science, thinking, you know, automatically they'll be qualified to be software developers, you know, many of them found it difficult to actually now start learning after school. So a lot of them ended up in banking, taking up banking jobs. A lot of them ended up, you know, going to other, you know, other industries. You know, they couldn't apply that, you know, what they learned. Okay, and you know, it is the same thing that also happens to, you know, most other students in other fields. Okay, so I just said that to say that studying computer science, if the person studying computer science is not even careful and doesn't detach him or herself from the flow of the educational system, you know, he or she may, you know, come out to actually become far away from becoming a programmer, from becoming a programmer. Okay, so that is to say that it is not actually for computer science students. Rather, it can be for anyone. Whether you study computer science or not, it can be for you. Okay, so all you just need to know is to learn the parts. So, but let me go ahead and because if in case there's someone there who still has doubts, because I want to assume most people who didn't answer my question, maybe some of them will still have doubt that I think this thing is difficult from what I've seen, I will have asked you, let me ask you all this question. 1 plus 1, is this equation easy or difficult to solve? Not to waste time, I'm very sure that most of you will agree with me that this is very easy, right? Okay, but I will say that is not the correct answer. The answer to this question, the question is this equation easy or difficult to solve? And I would think, or my answer to this would be that it depends on whom you are asking. Okay, if you are asking someone who has never been to school before, who doesn't even know who's not educated at all, who is in one village, one bush where there's no light, and who has never been to school before, definitely such a person will tell you this equation is very difficult to solve. I don't know if you agree with me. So, sorry, I need your feedbacks once in a while, maybe 1, 2, or 3 people, just to be sure you're all following me. Okay. So, I want to believe you agree with me that someone who has not been to school will find this equation difficult to solve. So, judging from this understanding, if I ask you this question again, is coding difficult to learn or not? I think the answer will be yes or no. Yes and no, depending on who you're asking. So in case you still think coding is very, very hard to learn, I want to say you are thinking that way because you actually haven't found the secret to learning it. Okay, those of us who have been to school, who have learned the alphabet, who have learned simple, mathematics or algebra, 1 plus 1, we can say it is very easy because some way, somehow we've been taught the secret. We've been able to get the secret of understanding those things. Okay, but someone who has not been taught the secret, who doesn't know how to resolve equations, who doesn't know how to, add numbers together, will definitely tell you it's difficult. So just put yourself in the position of that person who has never been to school before, in relation to this question. Okay. So if you think coding is hard, it's because you actually have not been taught and you've not been shown the way to understanding it. Okay. But the purpose of this course is actually to show you the secrets. And by the time you are done, you will boldly be able to say, actually, coding is not difficult. And I'm ready to learn it. I'm ready to learn the secrets, to understanding how to become a software developer. Okay. So, but having said that, let me also warn and say that the fact that I'm saying coding is not hard to learn doesn't mean it's not actually hard, and doesn't mean you won't face difficulty. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges. Okay, but just like everything in life, when you face challenges, there's almost everything in life is challenging. But it's your attitude towards difficulty or hard times or challenges that actually determine whether that thing will eventually become easy or not. Okay, so that's the same attitude I want to advise and encourage you to have to face this your quest to learning coding. Whenever you face any challenge, don't back down. Rather, resolve in your heart and be determined to actually go through it and learn it. Not to back down until you've actually understood it. Okay, so but to also balance it a bit, let me tell you, it's going to be very easier for you, because you are going to be guided. Okay, we are going to be guiding you to go into every bit of it. Okay, and one thing I like to say about the software industry or about coding, programming is that learning it is like trying to find your way through a forest. Okay, So imagine somebody drops you in the middle of a forest, a very large forest with many trees and many paths, and you don't actually know your way out of the forest, right? And you are trying to find your way to, get out of the forest to somewhere you are familiar with. You'll find out that because you're not familiar with that terrain, you keep going round and round in circles, until you realize that you are back at the particular place where you started from. Okay. But the moment you maybe luckily, find someone, a tour guide or a guide, somebody who's very conversant with the forest, with the ways and the paths, who understand all the trees and all the locations in the forest, and the person begins to lead you out of the way, you'll find out that it will be easier for you. So that's the way it is in software industry. So when I see many people trying to learn coding by signing up on some, they call them what they call them now, video website, that's online courses. They take up online courses, they watch videos and all that, self-paced courses, Udemy and all that, most of the time, from the things I've seen, it's the success rate is always very, very low, because coding is not something easy to learn on your own. It's not something easy, and that has even made a lot of people give up. That actually I can't learn this thing, because they've tried to learn it on their own, But when you have someone to guide you, it becomes easy. Like I said, there are too many things to learn. There are too many information. You just need somebody to help you pick the right thing. Then even the right combination, okay, of information is also very important. Okay. So once you have a guide, which is one of the things we provide at Zano Academy, guiding you until you learn it, you won't spend time. Within a very short time, you will have learned it, and people will be wondering how come, how did you do it? Okay. So it becomes easier. It's going to be easier for you because we are going to be guiding you through it. You understand? So to answer the question, to conclude on the earlier question, what you don't know is difficult, but what you know or understand is easy. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Let's try and see why programming is difficult. Now, I want to just for you to understand actually why we are doing this, why we're looking at this. Now, this is the first part of the course. Okay, and this first part of the course is, I like to categorize it as the psychology of learning coding. Okay, so one of the things we are trying to do with this first part is to do a psychological work, okay, to get into your mind and to let you actually see this thing as very, very simple. Okay, because the reason why a lot of people think it's difficult is because some way, somehow, they've been able to pick up an idea or a notion that is difficult to learn coding. Okay, so from our 2 years experience, the reason why a lot of people find it difficult to learn coding is because of some of these things in their head already that's been formed in their head. So no matter how much you try to teach them, until those things are removed, those notions are removed from their mind, those things will stand against them. They will never find it easy to learn coding. Okay, so that's the reason why we designed this course, this food. Okay, let's take the first part. Let's handle the psychological aspect of it, which I'm glad from the feedback I've gotten, a lot of you have already said that it is no longer difficult. You no longer see it as a big mountain, right? So I think from those feedbacks, if the feedbacks I've gotten so far is anything to go by, I can say we've concluded, we've successfully, been able to debunk those myths in you, with this first part of the course, which is the psychological aspect of it. Okay. So, but this is the final thing we're going to be looking at in this under the psychology of learning coding, which is to see why a lot of people find it difficult to learn programming. And this is very, very interesting. I like to take this part. It's very, very, very interesting. And the first thing is that the first reason why people find it difficult to learn coding is we have been trained. Every student in Nigeria is a victim of this, is a victim of the wrong educational system in Nigeria. So we've been trained with the wrong approach to learning by the educational system. So generally, the way we learn things in Nigeria is actually very, very upside down. It's wrong and it's upside down. And which is one of the reasons why a lot of people find difficult to learn coding. So if you try to approach, learning coding with a mindset, the same mindset you used to learn whatever course you learned in the university, okay, I'm sorry to announce to you, you will never be able to learn coding. You will never ever be able to learn coding. So the first thing you need to do is you need to unlearn and relearn. Now let me expatiate on that. Now, I mean, most of us here have been through the educational system, and we all agree that what is being emphasized in the Nigerian education system is actually, grades, pass mark. Okay, the education system doesn't focus on imparting understanding, but rather it is more focused on getting people to pass exams. So most of the time we see a lot of people who come up with high grades. Okay, they come up with high grades, and they are not actually necessarily the most intelligent or the most brilliant people in the class. Okay, I found out that those who come out with high grades are probably those who have a very sharp memory. Okay, they know how to cram. Some people are master crammers. They have perfected the art of cramming. Okay, so and one thing about cramming is that when you cram, cramming does not necessarily translate to understanding. Okay, you can know how to cram things, but that doesn't mean you have an understanding of the thing. Okay, so, but however, that means if you're a good crammer, I mean, that's the way the Nigerian education system is structured. If you're a good crammer, you know how to cram, you will pass exam and you have high grades. Okay, and you can even come out with first class. But that doesn't mean that you actually you've had an understanding of the particular subject matter, and this is a very, very, very big problem. So that's why you see people who cram. I mean, I used to know someone who is a good crammer. He doesn't read, he rarely even comes to class, and he usually gets A's. How does he do it? Some people have photographic memory. Okay, just some days, just like 3 days to the exam, that's when he picks his handout and he starts reading, and he doesn't read twice. He only needs to read once. Once he picks up the handout and he reads, within a few hours, he has crammed everything in the handout, in his head, and he doesn't need to read the second time. He gets to the exam hall, he pours down everything in the handout, and according to him, he said once he leaves the exam hall, he doesn't remember anything anymore. He doesn't remember anything anymore, and that's all. And by the time the result will come out, he'll come out with A, and he will be celebrated. So that's one of the reasons why when maybe I'm conducting an interview, or I'm talking with people, or I don't actually regard, I'm sorry to say, I don't regard everybody who graduated with first class. Now this is not to insult anybody who graduated with first class. There are some people who are actually very intelligent, who know how to cram and understand at the same time. And such people, they are not within the category of people I'm talking about. As long as you have an understanding of what you have crammed, that's fine. But I've seen several people who are victims of the education system such that they don't know how to cram as such, but they know how to labor to understand things. And once they read, they understand. But because of the way their memory is, they find it difficult to retain things exactly the way they've read them. But they can actually rewrite those things the way they understand. Now, these people become victims of the poor, structure of the educational system in Nigeria. Such people are failed because the lecturer is expecting the answer to come in a particular way. If the answer doesn't come the way he or she has written in the handout, such people or such a person is failed. Okay, so some people who actually eventually come out with 2-2, or some even third class, it doesn't mean they're not brilliant. Actually, I found out that those people are actually one of the most brilliant, one of the most intelligent, but they are only victims, they've only been oppressed by the educational system in Nigeria. So, and I found out that most of the people I've trained, such people actually do better. such people actually find it easier to learn coding. Why? Because they've not been used to cramming. They are used to reading to understand. So one of the things you need to know, in this your journey of learning coding is that you must develop the art of reading to understand. Okay? If you're a master crammer, well, it's not a problem, but make sure you can cram and you can understand at the same time. But if you think you can just cram and pick things and memorize it, you won't be able to survive this course. Okay? But don't worry, we've all been a victim of the education system. We've been taught to cram, but you can start on learning, you can start learning again how to read to understand. Once you can do that, you won't have any issue. And it's not difficult to learn. Most of my students first struggle. In the first 1, 2, 3 weeks, I find that they struggle a lot. Some of them try to, as they are reading, and that's one of the signs of cramming that I've realized. When somebody is reading, when you see someone reading, and the person has a note by the side, Bible, and as the person is reading, the person is jotting. That's number one sign that this person is cramming. So I try to discourage that. If you can't read something and try and understand and retain it, understand it the way, how you want to understand it, without writing it down, you'll find it difficult to learn coding. Finally, just to buttress that point, not overflow it. Recently I put up a post, sometime last year or 2 years ago, I put up a post on Facebook. From time to time, I write to, encourage aspiring developers just to make it, just to communicate and put it out there, and that coding is not difficult, anybody can learn it. So I just put up one of such posts, and a lot of people commented, and a guy from my secondary school, who actually was, was the head boy in my secondary school, wrote a comment. He dropped a comment, and he said something. He said, "I've been trying to learn coding for a very long time, but it is just too difficult. It is too hard. I've done everything to learn it. It is very, very difficult." And if you know this person I'm talking about, this was a head boy in secondary school. He was the best student overall, a science student, got all A's in WAEC, he read mathematics in the university. He has masters in mathematics or something. So, he's very, very intelligent. Yet, he was telling me coding is very hard. And of course, when he said that, I understood why it was hard, So I tried to explain to him that actually it could be easy. And some of the things I've already told you, I tried to explain to him that this is the reason why it is actually hard. It's because you are trying to cram. You've been used to cramming actually. I have no doubt that he came out with first class because I have no doubt that he crammed all through the university, just to let you know that the university system, actually accepts those who can cram and fails those who can't cram but who can read to understand. So he found it difficult to learn coding, So that's to let you know that the fact that you are intelligent in terms of being able to memorize things doesn't mean you are going to be able to learn coding. So I have to encourage him, start learning to read to understand rather than cramming. Okay, that will help you a lot. Okay, so the next thing is, you always think of passing exam rather than solving problems. So the major purpose or the major job of a software developer is actually to solve problems. So actually, as a programmer, so note, I'm using the words interchangeably: programmer, software developer, coder, coding, programming, software development. I'm using them interchangeably, okay? So you'll be confused. So as a programmer, you are actually a problem solver. What problems are you solving? You are solving problems for organizations, you are solving problems for the society, you are solving problems for people, you are writing codes to, to
your microphone is mute. Your microphone is on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my
Welcome back.
Thank you. My internet went off and I had to switch to the backup. You can't always rely on one internet in Nigeria. So I had to quickly switch to the backup. So hold on. Can you see my slide now? Can you now see my slide? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So, so I was saying that as a programmer, you are solving problems for several people. So you're a problem solver, okay? So a problem solver is very pragmatic. They think outside of the box. They are not closed within the box, okay? They are not, so such people they can't cram. They read to understand and apply what they understand. So, and like I usually say, when you're solving a problem, there are different ways. There are different ways to kill a fowl, like someone will say. There are different ways by which you can kill a chicken. You can strangle it, you can slaughter it, you can do anything, kill it anyhow. So that's the same way it is when you're solving problems as a programmer. There are different approaches to problem solving. Okay. So, but one of the things that will make you a proficient programmer is the ability to weigh different options, okay, or different solutions to a problem and to choose the best solution. Okay, so, but one thing I've realized that if you don't understand the problem, of course, science will tell you that the first step towards solving the problem is number one, identifying the problem, right? Okay, so then after identifying, you have to first study the problem and understand it from all sides. Okay, so understanding is very, very important to learning coding. So I'm saying this again to buttress the fact that you have to learn how to read to understand. Okay, I mean, if you've been able to scale through BSc, Masters, PhD, through cramming, okay, I'm afraid you are going to meet a roadblock if you come with that mindset to learn coding. So that's one of the second reasons why programming is difficult. Okay, so which also relates to the third point, don't cram, but try to understand. Okay, so that's all I have to say about this. But finally, let me tell you one final reason why you can't even cram. If you try and decide to continue to cram, one reason why it's not possible to do that with programming is because, like I said, the programming is just like, as a programmer, you're going to be learning different programming languages. Okay, we're going to be looking into that subsequently. Okay, we're going to be learning how to communicate with a computer. As a programmer, you're actually going to be instructing, the computer on what to do, and the computer will be able to do those things automatically without anybody controlling it. Or someone can control it, but the computer will do most of the things by themselves. Okay, so which means you're going to be learning languages, and you know how difficult it is to learn languages, right? Okay, so one particular programming language has a lot of what we call syntax. The syntax are just equivalent of alphabets in normal languages, English, Spanish. Every programming language or every language have their alphabets or they have their syntaxes. For example, A to Z is a kind of syntax in English language, right? There's a French syntax, which is different from the English language A to Z. There's a Spanish, there's a Japanese, they have the Arabic, so they have different syntaxes. So that is the same way it is in programming. So we have different programming languages or different languages by which you can write, okay, to control or to communicate with the computer, okay? So, and each of these languages have their different syntaxes, okay? Now, to develop a website alone, you need at least 2 to 3 programming languages. So if you've been on the website, okay, those websites you are seeing, any website if you've ever visited a website, the most basic, the most simple websites that just has name and about the company, homepage, about the company, our services and contact us, that doesn't have much functionality, just a basic website. Such a website was developed by combining at least 2 to 3 programming languages. Okay, that's to develop a website. So, which means they're going to be learning a lot of languages, but they're very easy, you know. So we're also going to be teaching the secrets to learning such things. Don't worry, just calm down. Okay. So now, one of the programming languages has over 500 syntaxes. So if one of them has over 500 syntaxes, which means that 2 or 3 of them has over close to 2,000 syntaxes. So now, if you want to start cramming now, how is it possible for you to cram over 2,000 syntaxes or about 2,000 syntaxes? That is practically impossible. Your brain cannot handle that. Okay. So which is another reason I found out. So those who have tried to learn coding through memorization, when they started with one programming language and they tried to cram all the syntaxes. By the time they got to half of, by the time they got to learning half of the syntaxes, their brain shut down. And by the time they saw the many syntaxes they still have to cram, they got discouraged. And they said, wow, coding is very, very difficult. I don't think I can learn it. Because the reason why they said, sorry, can you hear me? Somebody posted the message that the audio is breaking. Is this still breaking? Is the other internet back? Yes. So sorry, can you hear me? I need the feedback. Is the internet still breaking? Or can you hear me clearly?
It has come back. It just came back.
Oh, so sorry. Let me switch back to the other network. Okay, I think this internet is much, much better now. Is this okay now? Is this better? Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah,
yes, it is better now.
Yeah, okay, I'm back to the main network.
Why Nigeria?
This should be far, far better now. So, just to be sure, what was the last thing you had me say? Please, somebody just help me out. I don't want you to miss anything. Can somebody just help out? What was the last thing you had me say?
That the simplest website,
yes,
will have about 3 programming languages.
Awesome.
Awesome. And each of these program languages will have about 500 syntaxes. So
awesome.
you have like 2,000 that you're talking about here. That is practically impossible to memorize them offhand.
Awesome. That means you didn't miss anything. That's exactly what I thought. Thank you very much for that. So, so those people who have actually concluded that programming is difficult, where some of them attempted it, and they attempted by trying to cram over about 2,000 syntaxes. So when they saw that their brain capacity could not actually possibly carry it, they gave up and said, I don't think coding is for me, I can't learn it. You see? So, and that conclusion is not necessarily correct. That's very, very wrong. Okay? The reason why it was so for that person was because the person was using a wrong approach to learning it. Okay? So, but how can you now learn programming if you are not allowed to cram? How should you learn it if you're not allowed to cram? So how do you understand up to 2,000 syntaxes? So the answer to that question is you don't actually have to know all the syntaxes. That's the simple truth. That's number one. And number two, and these are secret. Now what I'm telling you now is what makes the difference between those who successfully learn coding and those who will not successfully learn it. Those who have not been able to successfully learn it is because they don't know this thing I'm telling you now. Okay, so I'm giving you the secrets that you are going to be using. So no one says you have to understand all the syntaxes, or no one says you have to remember all the syntaxes. So another thing that differentiates our approach at Zion Academy from the traditional approach, which is obtainable in the normal universities, Nigerian universities, education system, is that at Zion, or in coding generally, or in the software industry generally, no one cares about how you arrived at your solution. Okay? No one cares nobody is interested whether you wrote the code offhand, or whether you copied from a book, or you copied from anywhere. No one cares about it. All we care about is solve this problem, get it solved, get it working. That is what matters. It doesn't matter if, you can't be boasting and say, Well, I wrote this thing often. I'm typing the code, I'm typing the code often. I don't need to look at any book. You just see yourself. You bust your brain. Your brain can't carry, it doesn't have the capacity to handle everything. So no one's going to ask you. Okay. Now let's compare this with the educational system we are used to in Nigeria. Imagine after you have, none, which is good, which is good. But I learned in some other countries, especially some countries in Europe, and even in the US and the advanced countries, Prof will, will tell us more and will validate or invalidate this. Okay. Now, one of the things I've heard is that they focus more on the practical side of it. Now, the theory is important. They also focus on the theory, but when it comes to testing, your knowledge about a particular thing, they focus more on the result. They focus more on the practical aspect, not on the written test, or not on. They don't grade you according to what you have crammed or written or you have written. They grade you. They grade you based on what you've been able to resolve or to come out with. You understand? So, and it's the same approach we take at Zional Academy. Okay, so we don't care whether your roast is offhand or not. That doesn't do anything for us. Now, that's why in the software industry, there's this saying, this popular saying, that Google is your best friend. So if you have a problem to solve, for example, you need to write a code to solve a particular problem. Okay, you are actually free to reference your book. You're actually free to reference Google. You're actually free to use any material resources at your disposal. In other words, you're actually allowed to copy and paste. You're allowed to copy from a book to solve the problem because the syntaxes are so many that no one expects you to actually cram them. You understand? We just want you to apply what you have learned and use it to solve a problem. That is what matters. You understand? So actually, you don't need to cram anything or you don't need to try to memorize anything. So, and I'll tell you, no programmer in the world will tell you he or she, doesn't use Google. He or she doesn't reference Google. Now, the reason why they say Google is your best friend as a programmer is because now, when you are reading, when you are learning about a particular programming language, like I said, apart from the general principle of computer programming, okay, but let me mention this. Now, irrespective of the programming language you are learning, there are some standard principles, there are some general principles of software development, of computer programming, which cut across every programming language. Okay, so whether you're using Java, whether you're using PHP, whether you're using Python, whether you're using JavaScript, each of these programming languages have similar concepts. They have similar principles. Okay, so one thing we focus on teaching you is to understand the principles. Okay, so we don't teach you a particular programming language because at the end of the day, those programming languages, like I said, are just syntaxes. Okay, but behind the syntaxes, there are some principles. One of the major or one of the most important principles are the principles of problem solving. Okay, there's a way to solve problem, principle of systems design. Okay, principles of, there's something we call design patterns. Okay, there's something we call, solid principle. So there are a lot of principles that work, that applies to writing software, that if you know it, then it's very easy for you to learn any programming language. Okay, so by the time you've understood those principles, then you cannot go ahead to learn, any particular programming language that has to do with the area you want to specialize in. So we'll come to that later, so don't let me go too much in that. So what I'm just trying to say is that once you've understood the principles, when you're not learning a particular programming language, you're only learning the syntax. So those syntaxes, you don't have to cram them. In fact, you can go to Google and type, how do I... Now, one thing that is important is you need to know what to do to solve a problem. But you might not know the syntax to write in a particular programming language. You understand? So just like, let me give you a practical example. In English language now, if I want to say good morning, if I want to communicate now, generally communication doesn't have to do with any programming language. I mean, it doesn't have to do with any language. Now, if I want to greet somebody, good morning. In English, it is good morning. Okay. In French, I think it's bonjour, right? In Spanish, it's another thing. But if you notice, across all those different languages, I am communicating the same thing, but using different syntaxes or using different, verbal, what's it called, communication. You understand? But in actual fact, I've actually said, in principle, I've actually said the same thing. I have, carried out my intention, the same intention. Okay, that is the same way it is in programming. So good morning in English is the same, behind that good morning is the same good morning in French, it's the same good morning in Spanish, but it's only the syntax that differs. Hope you got that. So the same way it is in programming. So when you're learning a particular programming language, what is important is I know what to do. I know the intention I want to carry out. Okay, I know how to solve the problem. Okay, so that brings me to the next point that, problem solving, you don't use code. Actually, that's one of the myths of software development. Okay, that you solve a problem by writing codes. No, you don't solve a problem by writing code. You actually solve a problem in your head. When you have a problem to solve, the first thing is you analyze the problem, you understand it in your mind, and you find the way by applying some of the principles I've already mentioned earlier. By applying those principles, so you apply those principles in your head, so you know the approach you want to take to solve the problem. So that solution is actually first generated in your head. Then the next thing is, depending on the programming language you are using, you now implement the solution by writing the code. So programmers actually, when a programmer is writing code, he is not solving the problem by writing the code. No, the programmer has first of all solved the problem in his mind, in his head before. Now the code he's writing is just the implementation of the solution. I need a feedback at this point in time. Did you understand? Did anybody understand that? But this is very important. It's very, very, very crucial. This is what will separate you, this is what will make you a proficient programmer or a pragmatic programmer, which is one of the things we try to achieve. So as a programmer, actually you are implementing, you are writing code. When you write code, you are writing code to implement the solution you already have in your head. You understand? So now the process of writing the code or the process of implementing the solution, you can actually check a book if you don't remember the syntax. If you don't remember how to implement it or how to write a particular syntax to say, for example, good morning, you can actually go to Google and say, how do you say good morning in Spanish? Then Google will give you the answer. You can actually copy that answer and paste it into your coding environment and run it, and the problem will be solved. Now, what solved the problem is not actually the syntax. What solved the problem is the fact that you know that you want to say good morning. Okay? So if you're not a programmer, if you're not a problem solver, you will not even know at this point I'm supposed to say good morning. Talk less of now knowing that you have to now find the syntax of how to say good morning. You understand? So what makes you a programmer is the fact that you know that at this point in time, I want to say good morning. So that is exactly the way it is. So in terms of the implementation of the writing of the code, you can actually go to Google to copy the syntax. So by the time you get to the point where you start reading up, on the programming book, like I said, every programming language, what you're learning there, but the first 4 or the first 5 to 6 chapters of every major programming language book, they are the same, because every programming language will first explain the principles. Okay, and the objects, if it's an object-oriented programming language, the principle of inheritance, encapsulation, and all those things, they will first explain the principle, all of them, and those principles are the same. By the time you now start getting to chapter 6, that is where they now start, diverging, because each of them will now start sticking to their syntaxes. They'll now start teaching on how to write this in Java, how to write this in JavaScript, how to write this in C#, how to write this in Python, they will now start using their own native way of writing things in those programming languages. Okay, so that is actually, those are the things behind learning, learning coding. So when you now want to start implementing, you can actually go to Google and say, how do you do this? Google, copy it and paste it. But now, someone might be thinking, would that not make me a lazy programmer? Will I not be lazy? No. It's just a secret, it's a shortcut. You know why? The thing is that by the time you've copied, now, the truth of the matter is that when you are reading those syntaxes, when you are reading those programming languages books, of course, your head is not done. You understand? Some of the things, some of those syntaxes will stick because you're not just reading theory. As you are reading, you are practicalizing. That's the way we structure the learning. So as you are reading, you are practicalizing. As you are reading, you are practicalizing, and you are seeing the results on your browser or on your IDE. You understand? So there's no way, as you're implementing what you are reading, some will stick. So in a way, when I say you can't cram, now, to even understand things, to get understanding, there's no way you want to actually practice a little bit out of cramming, but it's actually not cramming, because when you read something, before you return it into your understanding, it might at that point in time, there might be a similarity between cramming and reading to understand. Because you have to read first before you understand. Also, you have to read first before you cram. Okay. So as you are doing that, as you are reading up the book, some will stick. But what I'm just trying to say is that as you are reading, as the syntaxes are getting more and more, don't put an effort to try and retain everything in your head. No. Read it, read the syntax, understand what the syntax is all about. You understand? Understand what the syntax is all about and move on. The only thing you should learn from every syntax you are reading about is that there is a syntax that can do this in this programming language. Now, how is the syntax structured or how is it written? That doesn't matter. Don't try to cram how it is structured, that it is like this, like this, like this. No, you don't need to cram that. Just know in your mind that if I want to do this kind of thing, there exists a syntax in this programming language to do it. That is enough. Move on. Although some will stick, how to write it, some will stick, but if another one doesn't stick, just move on. But make sure one thing sticks, that the programming language exists that does this programming language. So, let me move on from here. I've stayed too long here because the reason why it seems I'm overemphasizing this, because this is one of the most important secrets to learning coding. You understand? So once you've been able to do that, so when the time now comes for you to implement, like I said, you can always copy and paste. After you have copied and pasted for a while, that same thing you are copying and pasting will stick. It will stick. After a while, you won't need to copy and paste it again because you've already done it over and over. You know how to write it now. You understand? But it is a good thing. Then another thing about coding is that by the time you've worked on your first project, you can always use that project to solve other similar problems later. So which means most of the time as a programmer, you need to copy. Even if you have written the code by yourself often before, if you want to work on another project another time, okay, that is related to the first project you have worked on, you understand? You can always copy the code of the first project and paste it in the new project so that you continue from there, okay? Because one of the principles in programming or in software development is called DRY principle. The DRY means don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. So what that means is that if you have done something before, don't do it again. Rather, leverage on that thing you have done before to solve a new problem you're trying to solve. Okay, so if you have written a code or you have written some set of codes to solve a particular problem before, when later on, when you now come to meet a new problem, but that has similar solution as the previous one, you can copy the first one and use it. You understand? Okay, so you are going to be doing a lot of that. So because of that, you can now see that there's really no reason to cram. You don't need it at all. So I know by the time some of you start with the main course, I will still have to say this again because I know it doesn't go in one day. something you've learned for many years, you are used to cramming already. So, but when that time comes, we will say it again until you master it. Okay. So that's it. That's it. That's everything about the psychology of learning coding. Okay. So before we move to the next session, to start, going back to the basics of what is a computer, we're going to refresh our memory, remind ourselves again some of the things we've learned, because we have to start from the scratch. When you have a very good foundation, then you will become, we are training world standard developers. We are training developers that can work in any country in the world. Okay, so because of that, we're not joking with the foundation. So which is the reason why we're going to the beginning from. That's why it's called coding 101. What is a computer? So before we go to the next session, I need feedback. We have just 20 minutes more to round off. Quick feedback, any feedback for what has been said so far? Anyone, anybody? Nobody wants to give a phone. I think I've been talking to myself. Okay.
I think the session we've had is quite informative and educative enough to prepare our minds towards what was to expect in the coming sessions of this program.
Okay.
And one thing I've understood about the way you have approached this course is that the very last point on why learning coding, anyone can learn it.
Yeah.
And the part that we'll be going to what is computer again actually makes it very simple, and I believe is okay. It has really been encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't think anybody is willing to talk again. People just want to learn coding fast, and that is my just stop. Okay, I can hear you. Okay, I've not heard from some people so far. I need to get some people's feedback. Let me call Oladipo Oladipo. Can you just respond to what has been taught so far, please? If you could unmute.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've actually spoken before.
Oh, really? But, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but it's been interesting. The way you put it has demystified the whole thing. So, and makes it a lot more interesting to learn. So, I'm looking forward to really delving into deeper stuff. So,
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. So, I think we can just dive in straight to the next section, which is what is a computer? Okay, so now this is very, very basic. Okay, this is very basic. I believe at one point or the other, every one of us, have had to do something about computer, if not in primary school, in secondary school. Okay, so I expect us to, as this section is going to be very interactive. So because it's like a summary, like a refresher course, okay, so I don't just want to be reading through. So I'll be needing our feedbacks on this. So I'm going to be calling someone again to answer this question. Tenny Okesoya. Please, you want to help us? What is a computer? Is Tenny there? Hello, Tenny. Okay, while Tenny is preparing to answer, let me call somebody else. Anne.
Hello.
Okay,
sorry,
Tenny.
good afternoon. My network was bad.
Oh, okay. Thank God Tenny is there.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Nice to hear your voice. So, what is a computer?
Fine. Computers are devices basically used to process data and information, if I'm correct.
I like
and
that
can help with.
I can help what?
They can also help like advancement of technology, like used to program and all of those things also.
I think I like your definition. Why I like it is because it came straight from your understanding. Okay, it's not a textbook definition. Okay, I know a textbook definition when I see
Yes,
one.
sir.
So, so just to encourage everyone, I expect more of this. Please don't give me a textbook definition. When I ask a question, answer it how best you understand it. If if you can explain it better in your native language, in Yoruba, English, in Pidgin, okay? Only that I don't understand Igbo or Hausa, but if you have someone that can interpret, fine. Okay, explain however you understand it. I'm not looking for a textbook definition. I just need to know that you understand it. Okay, so nice one, Tenny. So let's move ahead because of time. A computer is, Tenny said a computer is a device that is used to process data, right? And that is also used, that can also help in processing or doing other things. Just to paraphrase what she said. So, it has all the keywords I'm looking for, for data processing, basically. Okay, but just to elaborate on that, my definition here says a computer is an electronic device for storing, retrieving, and processing data. Okay, now what this definition tries to do, if you see the highlighted words, is that you use a computer to store, retrieve, and process. So this definition highlights the different functionalities of a computer. A computer is used to store, it's used to process, and it's used to retrieve data. So those three things are the major functionalities of a computer, as we will soon see. Okay. So there are two main categories of a computer. Somebody wants to try. What are the two main categories of a computer? Like I said, it's going to be very interactive. Let me call somebody, Gabriel. Gabriel Bolaride, would you try? Now it's okay if you get it wrong, but I still want you to try because it's a refresher course. Gabriel Bolaride, two main categories of a computer. Okay, let me call on Han. Anne, do you want to try?
Yes. Okay, well, if I still remember my primary school or just one lesson, the two main categories, that would be either software or hardware, if I'm not wrong.
Clap for yourself. You got it right. You see?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. So, at times when you think you don't know something, you actually know it. But from my experience, hello, can you still hear me? Saying my internet is unstable.
Yes, I'm with.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So from my experience, a lot of people actually know things inside of them, but they don't have the confidence to bring it out. So, and that makes them shrink back, not to actually express what they know. Okay. So just to encourage you again, even if you feel you don't know it, most of the time the answer is very close to you. It's inside of you, you know it. Just summon the courage to bring it out. Okay. So you got it correctly. It's very, and some of these things are actually even common sense. They are very, intuitive. There are things we use every day. So two main categories of the computer, we have the hardware and we have the software. Okay, so the hardware, let me go, this one is very straightforward. I don't need to ask. The hardware, this includes the physical parts of a computer, such as the case, the central processing unit. When I say the case now, the case means the body of the computer. Now, if it's a desktop now, that's the outer layer of the desktop computer, okay? And just in case somebody doesn't know what a desktop.
Okay, sorry, sir. When you say case, I don't. There's this. Okay, let's say for even a desktop in an office, or the idea. There is the display, and then there's this other box that is always down. So which is the case? Is it the one we are facing, or the one that is always, I don't know, the rectangular box?
I guess
always on the floor.
I guessed correctly. I was about to expatiate further on that because I just guessed somebody might not really understand that,
Okay.
Thanks for that question. So I was saying the desktop computer, the case of the desktop computer. So in case somebody is wondering what a desktop computer is, that big box you mentioned that is always on the floor most of the time, that is actually called the desktop. Okay, that's the desktop of the computer. So it's different. Now, the one The screen that's always on the table is actually, that's actually the screen. Okay, that's the screen part of the computer. But the big box on the floor, usually on the floor, and some are flat, usually on the table, that's what's called the desktop. And that actually houses all the components, the internal component of the computer. Okay, so the case of that desktop is actually what we're referring to. That is the one on the floor, not the case of the screen. Okay, so that's the case. So it's part of the hardware, right? You can see it, you can touch it. Then we have the CPU. The CPU is one of the internal components of the computer that actually processes. That is actually the unit that is responsible for processing the data that's, that is transmitted or that are transmitted into the computer. So that's the CPU. They are all inside the computer. Okay, maybe tomorrow I try to introduce some pictures to this thing so that you can see how it is. I'm going to update this slide with some pictures to make it easier to understand. Okay, so we have the monitor. So the monitor is actually what you were referring to as the screen. Okay, that's the monitor. We have the mouse, we have the hard disk. Okay, the hard disk is also the storage. That's one of the storage devices of the computer. Now, then we have the speaker that plays out sound from the computer. Then we have the motherboard. The motherboard is actually the mother of the whole computer. That's that board inside the computer that every component of the computer are attached to. Okay, that's the circuit inside the computer. So now we are not, this is, like I said, this is just a refresher course. So we're not going to be drilling down into all of these things, to see, understand. This is just to make you aware. You can't say you want to learn coding and not knowing the hardware that you actually use to code, okay? Or you can't say you want to instruct a computer and tell it what to do, through codes and not know what the computer, not know the components of the computer, okay? So that's why we are coming this low to be familiar, so you can be familiarized with all these hardware components, okay? So that's the hardware. So, and also, okay, let me move on to the next slide. So we have the hardware can be categorized, into two major categories. Okay. Now we have the input devices and we have the output devices. Okay. So this is where I mentioned earlier that the definition actually picks the important parts of the, the important part of the computer. Going back to the definition, I said a computer is an electronic device for storing, retrieving, and processing data. So these are actually the three different flows, the three different direction, okay, of how a computer processes data. First, input. Data is imputed into the computer first, okay? And data is imputed into the computer through the input devices, okay? Okay, so then the next thing is data is stored, is processed. That is, the imputed data are then further processed. It is the CPU that is responsible for processing the data, okay? Then we have storing, okay? The storing, after the data has been processed, it can either be stored into the hard disk permanently, okay, or stored on the memory of the computer temporarily, okay? Then, or it can also be outputted, okay, through the screen, or it can be displayed on the screen through any of the output devices. You understand? So let's go back to the categories of the hardware. So we have the input devices and we have the output devices. Now, in between the input devices and the output devices, we have the CPU, okay, which is the central processing unit. So data coming in from the, oh, what's that noise? So, okay, thank you. So data coming in through the input device are processed by the CPU. I don't know if you can see my, what's it called? My pen list on the screen. Can you see my pen list on the screen? Okay. So data imputed to the input devices. that person should help me mute, please. There's somebody on the road that is constantly on meeting. Okay, let's go back to the class. So data enters through into the computer through the input devices, that is through the mouse, keyboard, scanner, digital cameras, or microphones. So these are different devices through which you can pass in data into the computer. Then the CPU processes it, then that same data can be outputted through any of these output devices, either a printer, a monitor, computer, speaker, projector. Okay? So I think that is clear enough. So, like I said, this is just a refresher course. We're not going too deep into some of these things. Okay? So that's about what we want to check out about the hardware. Okay? Now the next thing is the second part of a computer, which is a software. So the next thing is, what is a software? So I want one person to quickly answer this before we move on. I'm going to be stopping, here, then we can continue tomorrow. So what is a software? Let me call somebody who has not spoken before. Who is, okay. Thank God. Thank God. Do you want to respond to this, please? Is Thank God there? Okay, if Thank God is not going to answer, let me call somebody else. Okay, Joshua, I want to try. What is a software?
Okay, a software is a set of instructions that tell the computer system what to do.
I like that definition. Though it looks like a textbook definition, but we're going to accept it. Did you study computer science?
Okay.
Did you study computer science?
Yes, something.
You see now?
Yes.
Computer science students are easy to identify. You know them. You know this textbook. Okay, that's actually, sorry, I'm not bashing computer science students. They're actually very, very intelligent set of people. But they just need to come out of what they've been taught in the classroom and be responsible for their own learnings. And I'm glad you are doing that, thank God. Okay. So you are very correct. A software is a set of instructions written, to tell the computer what to do, or that can be stored and run by the hardware. So there's a reason why I brought in this definition. I was looking for a definition that would tie the software to the hardware. You understand? That will relate the hardware to the software. So it's a set of instructions written that can be stored and run by the hardware. So softwares are actually, run by the hardware. So a computer is nothing without the hardware. A computer is nothing without the software. So which means a hardware cannot function without the software. And also the software cannot function without the hardware. So the hardware is the physical part of the computer you can see, but a hardware without, the software is actually dead. It's actually lifeless, okay? It's just an empty box when a software has not been installed into a computer, okay? So, I like to use this analogy that a computer hardware is like the body of a man, okay? While the software is like the soul and the spirit of the man, okay? So, we all know what happens once the soul and the spirit leaves the man. The body drops down and dies, okay? So just like, man cannot exist without the spirit and soul, that's the body can't function. That same way, the hardware of the computer can't function without the software. It's going to be lifeless, okay? So software is a very crucial part of a computer. So now we are going deeper, to a place that is much more interesting, okay? So let's look at the categories of a software. Wow, I've already shown you. I wanted to ask somebody that question. Let me still ask, what to say. Innocent, would you tell us?
Hello, sir. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, are you moving your slides? Because It's just one thing I've been saying all through.
Oh, what have you been saying? Tell me what's on the slide right now.
Coding 101.
Just coding 101.
Oh man, I was
like
asking. Thank you for that. I was asking if you can say. So it's code 101 you've been saying.
Yes.
So, oh, Sherry was paused. Let me resume. Oh my God, sorry about that. Oh my God, thanks for bringing that up. Okay.
All right.
Can you see my slide now? Okay, hold on.
Yes, I can see them now.
I'm not sure I've seen the correct one. So what can you see now on the screen?
Software, set of instructions written that can be stored and run by the hardware.
Very good. Wow. Okay, anyway, I think tomorrow we'll run through all these things you've missed in the slide. Okay. I was actually teaching from the slide before. Can you see as I'm scrolling through now, just to be sure?
Yes.
Okay. So I was showing us the different hardware, then the input devices and the output devices, Okay, so I think we can move on now. Okay, so let me ask someone to tell me the categories of software we have. Okay, let me ask Larry to give us that since you spoke last. What are the categories of software?
Well, I think I have heard it before, but I'm not sure I can remember.
Okay. You can remember, just it's there. You can remember. I'm very sure you can remember. You know it. I'm very sure you know it. Let's try.
Category.
Yes, the categories of a software. Okay, let me help you. There are two main categories of a software. There are two main categories of a software.
We have the system software and application software.
Okay, who gave that answer? Who is the first?
And Samuel.
Oh, Samuel, thank you. Correct. Thank you for bailing us out. Okay, so we can move to the next slide now. We have the system software, which is, also somehow called operating system, or an example of system software, the operating system. Then we also have the application software. Can you now say that you know it? I'm sure you'll have said, oh, okay, this is what it was referring to. Okay, so now let's look at what a system software is. A system software, a software that provides a platform for other software to run. Okay, that's the first thing they do. They provide a platform for other software to run. Now, when I say other software, I mean the application software, because there are two categories. We have the system software and we have the application software. Now, they can be although you can install multiple operating systems into a computer, okay? But you can only use an operating system per time on a computer. You can't use multiple operating systems at the same time in a computer, okay? But the other types of software will come there, but let me just let's exhaust the system software first. So system software provides platform for other software, which are the application software to run. Then the next point is they make the computer hardware functional. Now, I'll explain this a bit. Now, all those computer hardware which you've seen before, all these input devices and output devices, the keyboard, the mouse, the scanner, it's very interesting that we use some of these things, but we don't actually know, how some of these things work. But I know somebody here will know, the computer scientists that answered the question earlier would actually know all of these things. These are some of the good things that have been taught, in the university to computer science students, okay? So, except I'm wrong anyway. So now this keyboard, mouse, scanners, the monitor, the hard disk, the memory, now they are hardware. And one of the features of the hardware is that they are lifeless actually, okay? They are static. Okay, when you get, if you have a hard disk, most of us have used external hard disk before. Okay, whether external or internal hard disk. But let's take an external hard disk as an example. If you have it in your hand, it's lifeless. It doesn't do anything. It's just a piece of hardware. Okay, but the moment you plug it into the computer, something happens. The first thing is your computer responds. Some of us hear that sound, bang, bang, you know, on our computer. We hear that sound. That means your computer is responding to the inserted hard disk of a USB flash drive. Okay, so but the flash drive on its own is lifeless. But what gives it life is the moment it connects into the USB port of the computer, then bang, bang, the sound comes up, then something appears on the screen, then you can see all your files. Okay, so what makes that possible? What makes the, you know, the computer to be able to respond to the USB flash drive or the external hard disk inserted into the computer is actually the operating system. So what makes the computer able to recognize the external hard disk or the hardware or any other hardware for that matter is actually the operating system. So that is what I mean by, you know, when I said that, oh, sorry, I've gone too far. So that is what I mean when I said, sorry, hold on, please. No. So that was what I meant when I said the system software make the computer hardware functional. Okay, so it doesn't only make the USB flash drive functional or the external hard disk. Now, even the components, the hardware components inside the computer, like the motherboard, the hard disk, you know, for computers that have CD-ROM drive, okay, or a mouse, okay, every other hardware, you know, that forms up to make up the computer actually become functional. The moment, you know, the computer is booted and the operating system comes up, they all become functional. They receive life. Okay, so that's why I said the operating system gives life to all the hardware components in the computer. Okay, I hope that was clearly understood. Wow, we've overshot our time, but I think I'm going to be closing. Can we take this till 6:15 so that we'll continue from a comfortable place tomorrow? Because we actually started late. We waited for like 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes before we started the class. So can we end the class by 6:15 so I can end at a comfortable place? Is that okay?
I think that's fine, sir.
Okay, thank you. So examples of operating system are Windows operating system. Most of us know this, you know. We have the Mac operating system or the Apple iOS. I would have loved to ask this question, but I'm already saying it. The Linux operating system and the Android, okay? So most of us don't know that the Android operating system is actually an operating system. It is, but it is an operating system for the mobile phone. Okay, so the Apple iOS is Apple's operating system for their Apple phones. Okay, so then the Linux is an operating system for computers. That's for laptops or desktop computers. Then we all know the Windows operating system, which is the most popular and the biggest operating system, you know, distributor in the whole world, owned by Microsoft. Okay, that's another type of operating system. Now, we are going higher, we are going deeper. So the next thing is the application software. Okay, so the application software are software that give functionality to a computer. Okay, so when I say give functionality, so if I ask somebody a question now, what is a computer used for? I want somebody to answer this question. If I say, what is a computer used for? I need one person to answer this question. Let me call Tolu Ibrahim. Tolu Ibrahim, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, what's a computer used for? In your own view, I mean, what can you use a computer for?
It's basically used to perform any task required by the end user.
I like this. I like this. Definitely. Any task. You know, you actually answered the question the way I was expecting. I'm sure you're not a computer science student.
I am.
You are. Okay. You are a computer science student plus. That's a very good, sharp question. That's a sharp answer rather. Sorry, I'm not bashing computer science students. They're actually my good friends, okay? And I like that answer. It can be used to do anything you want it to do, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's very correct. So, which means a computer can do anything. So what determines what a computer can do actually is the application software that is installed on the computer. So if you want a computer to become a calculator, for example, all you need to do is to install a calculator application software. Okay? If you want a computer to become a TV, all you need to do is to install a TV app. If you need to watch movies, when you want to turn your computer into a cinema, you install, a video player, okay, a video application player on your computer. So whatever you want your computer to do is what your computer will do. So which means, which takes us back to the definition that the application software is software that give functionality to a computer. Okay, so the application software you install on a computer actually determines what you use the computer for. Okay, so now, okay, before I go there, so let me just quickly say something. You guys are learning coding, you are learning software development, okay? You are learning how to actually write the set of instructions which a computer could obey, okay? So which means you are going to be responsible for this part of the computer. That's this, you can be responsible for the system software development. You can also be responsible for the application software development, which means by the time you are done with your training, you will be able to create an application software. So which means you'll be able to actually determine, what a computer could be used for. Okay. So, and this is, this shows clearly, this should make you understand, clearer why software developers are in high demand, because they actually determine what a computer can be used for. So bankers or banks, for example, they need a computer, or they need a software, or they need a computer to perform some complex calculations, to perform some, to calculate figures, okay, and to properly organize and manage, cash inflows and outflows and all that. Now, without a computer programmer, writing a software to be able to do that, you agree with me that that would be a very, very Herculean task to banks. Okay, I remember those days, when I was, in university, before before IT was this, before the internet was this popular, then Wema Bank, when you go to Wema Bank, when money is sent from Lagos, okay, to the Wema Bank branch, on my campus, there was nothing like computers then. There was nothing like the internet had not gotten to that part, of the country then. There's usually this long queue, okay? And when it gets your turn, the cashier or the, what's it called? The teller, they usually have this big register. Imagine everything is manually recorded, okay? So and when money is sent from Lagos, what happens is actually at a particular time, maybe once it's 4 o'clock, they actually collate all the money that was sent from Lagos on that day. They write everything on a book, and they find a way to send that book down, to the branch of the state, where the other person is meant to receive the money. Okay. So they have to open the register and check the register, then before they disburse. And that usually takes more than 24 hours. Okay. If you are lucky, you will get it within 24 hours. If you are not lucky, you wait at least 2 days. And if you are most unlucky, if money is sent to you on a Friday, you can't collect your money till the following Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so imagine how difficult life was, without, computers and without software, But now everything is easy because somebody has written a software, leveraging on the internet and networking, such that when money is sent from one state, at the other hand, the money can actually be confirmed instantly, and the other person can receive the money immediately. Okay, so this is just a basic example of the power you have as a programmer, okay, and how you can make life easier for other people and even organizations, okay? So this also gives an idea of how important you are, by the time how important you'll be by the time you finish learning this course. Okay. So at this point, I think it's a good place to end this class. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at the categories of web application softwares because we're going higher. We want to dissect. We're going to be dissecting application softwares and see the categories. So by the time we've looked at the categories, then we will now be able to determine, okay, between the two categories of software, that's system software and application software, okay, which one is much more reasonable to go for? Which one is much more reasonable to specialize in? Okay. Do I want to be an operating system software developer, or do I want to be an application software developer? Okay, so which one is easier to become between the two, and which one is in higher demand between the two? So we're going to be looking at that tomorrow. Then we are also going to be, by the time we've looked into the different categories of application software, we are also going to now be determining, for those who want to specialize in application software development, we'll also check each of the categories of application software development and see which one we would want to specialize in more, or which one we would like to learn, out of all the different options, we have. Okay, and then we'll move on to something higher, networking, and we'll move on to see the internet and how it works, demystify the internet and how it works. So tomorrow will be a bit intense. I mean, today has been very, very basic. We're starting from the scratch, but we are going, higher upward. And tomorrow come very, very prepared. Okay, and tomorrow will be very, very, very a bit, don't let me scare you anyway, but just to prepare you. But it's going to be interesting as well, especially when we start talking about the internet and how the internet works, and all that. It's really, really going to be very, very interesting. So at this point, I would like to, bring this, class to an end. And before we close it, I would like to get feedback from almost everyone today. I mean, from what has been taught so far. So the floor is open for everyone. If you want to speak, please unmute your mic and let's get your feedback. And before closing before ending the meeting. So, anyone?
Thank you. I learned quite a lot today.
Okay.
And yes, I work with an IT company, and
wow.
I've not done up to 2 years in the IT industry because I'd worked with other places prior to now. And
wow.
For someone new in the IT industry, today is more like a refresher. For some things I've been working on as even someone in service delivery, I can even relate with them now. Some things are just some things just make sense by reason of this introductory class we had. So I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's class. Thank you very much.
Wow,
I'm actually excited about it. I forgot to add that, but I'm excited and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I mean, I'm encouraged as well that you are learning a lot. Thank you for joining. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Who else? Who else wants to give a feedback? I mean, what you've learned today, and
I'd like to just say very big thank you to you, sir, and your company for putting this together. I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Oh. Okay. So it's like simplifying what has looked like a mountain, something I've had interesting for a while.
Yeah.
And wow. Being, one of the fears for me is not to invest strongly in the sense that especially online courses, because they are self-paced. There's a way you could just get carried away, and especially when you feel alone in it, you just feel overwhelmed and drowned. But this has put so much clarity to it and simplicity, helps you align your thoughts, even the simplest of ways you've been using computer. You can think along and see that it's actually possible. It's very interesting, and I really look forward going beyond the 2-day boot camp. Thank you very much. It's been very insightful.
Well, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the feedback. Another person, one more person before we call it a day.
Thank you for the opportunity to learn at your desk. And I would like to commend your team as well and your company for this opportunity. So like the others have said, this is a very good opportunity for everyone who is willing to learn. And hopefully we look forward to tomorrow and beyond tomorrow to enrolling in a course where the skills can be fully acquired to do something on ICT. Thank you. I think your microphone is muted.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. So thank you everyone for your feedback. Thank you so much for listening attentively and for making our time to learn this. You know, like I always say, like I said earlier, I've been an advocate, within the industry with my colleagues that, the only way to solve this problem of shortage is to increase supply. So we are happy, to to be taking this step, to increasing the supply, that will go into the industry. So the more programmers we have, actually, the better it is for everyone. Okay. Apart from the fact that, the income, is very high, but, we have more hands to solve problems and we have more hands to work with. So the way it is now, there's so many software projects, hanging on top, on the neck of different software companies, but there are no hands to work on them. Okay, so just to encourage you finally again today that it's going to be you are going to be doing a lot of help to the software industry, and to other industries if you are able, to complete this course. Okay, so thank you once again, everyone. See you tomorrow, same time, 4 p.m. And the bridge will be open by 3:45. So we'll appreciate it if you can connect as soon as possible. Then also,
okay, thanks.
Yeah, we'll pass across more information to you after the whole training. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your time.